GDC advisor Marina Diaz says white men and gatekeeper. Now, Smash, I'm going to let you lead us through this story here. Who is Marina Diaz, and why is she so broken?
I can't answer the second part of that. I'd imagine it's something in her personal life. Actually, one of the things I saw was she did do an interview about her growing up and how her dad was really horrible with her. And so I'm thinking there's a lot of buried anger and hatred in her life from that.
I'm just going to put this out right now, really
Go
quick.
ahead.
I would love to see the Venn diagram of game journalists and game industry folks and people with daddy issues, right? And to see how much that Venn diagram crosses, right? And there you go. There's your issue right there. You know,
It's not a Venn diagram if it's one circle, Craig.
Yeah. Right. Just looks like this. It's just right there. There it is. Right there. There. That's it. Everybody. Nice. All right. I'm sorry. Yes, Smash. Continue.
Okay, so just boringly reading from her website, Marina Diaz is a Spanish award-winning game designer and filmmaker in London, UK. She is the CEO of 3 of Cup Games, an ethical and diverse game studio based in London. She's also the principal game designer at BTF Games for the Berlin apartment. And it goes on and on and on. But a couple of things to take away from that is on a separate section of her website, which ironically, while I was editing my video yesterday, she took her website down. I thought that was curious. Yeah. So she already saw the heat coming. But on her website, she discussed how she's not a technical game designer, meaning she doesn't do programming, but she says she calls herself a principal game designer. And I'm like, okay, so she doesn't do the technical stuff. She doesn't do the programming, but she's a game designer. And it turns out that she's the consultant at her own game developer, where she has people that know how to program. And she's like the Homer Simpson over their shoulder, like, hey, can you guys work harder? And they're like, yes, sir, Mr. Simpson, we can work harder. And they just type faster. Like, that's my mental image of what she does there. Mm-hmm. But she has a lot of buried anger and hatred for the white man. And I think we were talking in the pre-show about this. Just a one-off would be, okay, maybe she was having a bad day. You know, maybe we all have that one tweet where we're like, oh, I probably shouldn't have said it like that. Mm-hmm. The thing she says, I'm like, this is another level of psycho. Like, this is not normal. Okay, this stuff that comes out, and these are this is the scariest part, real quick. And I know you want to read through them, Craig.
Yeah.
She's followed by many prominent figures in the game industry, and they see what she writes, and they continue to follow her, not call her out, not say anything about it, and just hope that it just goes away and nobody notices it. And when it all comes to pass and the come home to roost, it's like crickets. No one in the industry is saying anything right now. It's like, where were you guys? This was red flag city with this one. And nobody stood up and said, hey, what you're saying is not cool. You shouldn't talk like that.
Right. And we're going to get into that in a little bit because I just don't understand this. But let's go get into what she actually said. It says, in a now deleted post on her now private, of course, Twitter, an advisor for the Game Developers Conference. By the way, it's the fucking Game Developers Conference. This is the biggest conference in the development of all video games. Happens once a year. It's massive. She's an advisor for this, right?
And this goes to what is the problem with DEI is you start involving people for the sole purpose of, oh, that's a Spanish girl, Spanish speaking, diverse. She's from another country. We need to accept her and her ideals because we need the diversity, because also it fits the same groupthink that we have too. But they're just allowing it just because she's diverse when she's unhinged as hell.
Well, you can see the tweet here. It says, I went from thinking I'm a shitty designer to consult and train teams at one of the biggest game companies in the world. Keep believing in yourself. Like all that. Okay, fine. Great. But then she has to go and fuck white men and gatekeepers.
I mean, That's a common theme we'll see as we go through these, where it's kind of like a weird thing to tweet, but whatever. And then she ends it with that every time. And it's like, why did you throw that in at the end? That's so weird.
Hey, John.
But real quick though, let's
well,
go back.
the white people are seen as the oppressor. I mean, it goes back to what we were talking about. Like these people, these socialists, they can't help but look at fucking everything through power dynamics. That's all they see. Once you realize that about them, a lot of their thought process makes sense. I mean, it's stupid, but
Oh,
like once you sort of
finally
filter it through that, you're like, oh,
Once you
right.
grasp that they're an activist and not a gamer, yeah, it makes sense. But sometimes you got to remind yourself, because it's not the way we logically think. So I'm constantly reminding myself, I'm like, oh, that's crazy. Oh, wait, no, they're an activist. They don't game. They don't care. It's I have to always remind myself, as obvious as it might sound. But the thing she said, Craig, if you don't mind bringing it back up on the full screen just real quick.
Yep.
I went from thinking I'm a shitty designer. She literally admits that she doesn't know how to code. So by nature, she's not even a designer, but if she was, she would be the shittiest one in the world because she doesn't know how to do it. And then she went on to doing something that doesn't involve coding. And she's like, look at me, I'm successful now because I'm doing this other thing that's not even a real job, but I found a crack in the concrete to seep into to push my activism and get paid by putting a gun to the head of these people saying, if you don't hire us, then you're a bigot. And that's like the whole narrative that has been working for how long has it been now? A decade? Like, how long has this been going on, Craig?
Long enough to realize that this thing is a deep problem for sure. But she continues as we scroll down, says, by the way, she just wants to let you know, not all white men suck, but you know what I mean. Hey, John, I'm sorry. Elon has a message for you for Marina.
Go fuck yourself.
Sorry, John. You know what she means, though.
Yeah, well, she's signaling to other people who think like her. It's like, you know what we're talking about, right? The message, all that shit.
And like, here we continue as we go down, growing my abs to crush nuts and obnoxious white men with them. The fuck? What is this? This is who hurt you, Maria? That's such a great line right there. Smash. Wonderful.
It's the only thing I can think of. I'm going through this stuff. I'm like, my goodness, this is someone is.
Yeah, well, if you look at everything as race, white people are the bad guys. If you look at everything through sex and gender, cis people are the bad guys. It's just
don't say cis. Don't say that word. Don't say the fucking word. And then she added a few weeks later, of course, why white men over 40, for being somehow generous, are allergic to saying the word diversity. Well, I think most people just in general are against forced diversity, right? Mm-hmm. People want the best people for the job. So there's a larger question with all this, right? And we can talk about Three of Cups, her company, which who the fuck knows what they do? Who really cares, right? And them being the
games, by the way, I did look into them. The games look absolutely atrocious. I'm like, this is one of those. They're all. This is the other thing. Three of Cups. If you want to just real quick sidebar this, Three of Cups is one of those studios that seems to base its premise on depression and using depression as a crutch for people to give them approval. Like, oh, it's a game about depression and it helps you work through your depression. And it's like, okay, but it's still a really shitty game. But you can't say that because it's about depression. So you got to really cut them a break because it's about depression. Like, that's their whole angle with Three of Cups. But anyway, carry on. Sorry, I just wanted to.
Well, I mean, here are some of their games. Here, they have a game called Summer Gyms, which you can buy for €2.50, €250, which comes out to about 6 cents. They also have.
Did you mean to have it on the big screen? Because it's not.
Oh yeah, I meant to. Sorry. There we go. Summer Gyms right there. Then we also have Cardamancy Anthology, which with 13 reviews is you can buy for $24.99. I guess my thing with this is like, how does this company make money? And why is anybody listening to this lady ever? And how is she an advisor for the Game Developers Conference? And what does she advise? Right? And how come there's not somebody with a fucking balls in the video game industry to say, hey,
Because they don't want to be canceled,
that's
Craig.
racist.
That's the problem. It's a self. We're starting to lose you, Craig. But it's a self-fulfilling like situation that the game industry's created, where it's put this diversity pillar at the forefront, and it's allowed people that have these very racist, very very sexist, aggressive, but because it fits the narrative, it's okay with them type standpoint, and it's run amok to the point where you can't call them out for it because the groupthink has accepted it. And if you start calling it out, then you are going to be excommunicated from what I would say is, by all counts, it's become a cult. And you cannot go against the greater good of what their push is for. And that's why someone like this gets to where they are, keeps failing upwards, because everyone's too afraid to say anything, because they don't want to be the one that becomes the outcast, because they see how the Mercantes and all these journalists, the Ash Parishes, treat people who dare question the message.
Yeah. Well, it's not really about. I mean, they say diversity. The reason it makes people angry is because a lot of people, normal men, as you would say, know that it's not really about. It's about diversity in terms of surface level immutable characteristics, not thought, and it's inclusion through exclusion. You can be a part of our club as long as you think the way we do. Otherwise, you're the enemy.
I don't understand why. Like, how come Kotaku? How come IGN? How come Polygon? How come Rock Paper Shotgun? How come go down the list? How come they haven't gotten a hold of GDC and said, hey, how can you stand by this obvious racism and sexism by one of your advisors? How is this okay?
I said that at the end of my video covering this. Like, this exposes them for being on that side where they're totally fine with it. Like, why are they calling out the Saber Interactive CEO for a comment on Asmongold, but they're deafening silence on this actual real controversy? Like, this is a real situation that deserves coverage. This deserves the spotlight. And they are proactively ignoring it and looking to find controversy elsewhere, because the last thing they want to do is see their house of cards crumble.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to make that phone call. And I'm going to make that phone call actually right now. Let's do it live.
GDC registration. How can I help you?
Hey, good morning. My name is Craig Skistimus. I have a podcast called Side Scrollers. We're actually live right now. I wanted to reach out to somebody at GDC to see if they had a statement about one of the advisors, Marina Diaz, and her recent statements. Can you point me in that direction, please?
I'll give you one moment here. Let me pull up what I have. Bear with me for a few moments here.
Yeah, sure. Take your time.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. How's your day going?
I cannot complain at all. It's been a pretty smooth day for me, and in my personal life, I just got an approval for a new place that I'm moving into now.
Hey, congratulations.
I'm in a very good mood. Thank you.
Way to go, man.
That. About yourself?
Pretty good. You know, we're just hanging out, talking about all this insanity in the world, and glad to be chatting with you this morning. I'm excited to see what you guys have to say, which is good stuff.
And I know I put this to the side somewhere here, but it's not where I thought it was going to be at. So let me place you on a brief hold. Am I right? I'm still here pulling everything up on my side. So two things. If I are conscious that you said you were alive, so I'm assuming that you are currently busy. If it makes more sense for you, to save time, I would say you can send this to us in the form of an email,